Here the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, Devahuti, is described as Suratotsuka. After traveling with her husband all over the universe in Mount Meru and the beautiful gardens of the heavenly kingdom, she naturally became sexually stimulated, and in order to satisfy her sexual desire, Kardama Muni expanded himself into 9 forms. Instead of 1, he became 9, and 9 persons had sexual intercourse with Devahuti for many, many years. It is understood that sexual appetite of a woman is 9 times greater than that of a man. That is clearly indicated here. Otherwise, Kardama Muni would have no reason to expand himself into 9. Here is another example of the yogic power. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead can expand himself in millions of forms, a yogi can also expand up to 9 forms, but not more than that. Another example is that of Saubhari Muni. He also expanded himself into 8 forms. But however powerful a yogi may be, he cannot expand himself into more than 8 or 9 forms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, can expand himself into millions of forms, Ananta Rupa, innumerable, countless forms, as stated in Brahma Samhita. No one can compare to the Personality of Godhead by any inconceivable, energetic manifestation of power. Text 45 and 46 also will finish. Tasmin vimana utsrikstam shayyam ratikarim shita nacha budhyata tam kalam patya pichena sangata. In that aerial mansion, Devahuti, in the company of her handsome husband, situated on an excellent bed that increased sexual desires, could not realize how much time was passing. Purport. Sex indulgence is so enjoyable for materialistic people that when they engage in such activities, they forget how time is passing. Saint Kardama and Devahuti, in their sex indulgence, also forgot how time was passing by. Text 46. Evam yoganubhavena dampatyo ramamanayoho shatam vyatiyu sharadaha kamalala sayormana. While the couple who eagerly longed for sexual pleasure were thus enjoying themselves by virtue of mystic powers, 100 autumns passed like a brief span of time. Tasyamadattatretastam bhavayannatmanatmavid nodavidhaya rupam swam sarvasankalpa vidbuhu. The powerful Kardama Muni was a knower of everyone's heart, and he could grant whatever one desired. Knowing the spiritual soul, he regarded her as half of his body. Dividing himself into 9 forms, he pregnated Devahuti with 9 discharges of semen. Purport. Since Kardama Muni could understand that Devahuti wanted many children, at the first instance, he got 9 children at one time. He is described here as Vibhu, the most powerful master. By his yogic power, he could at once produce 9 daughters in the womb of Devahuti. Atasa shushuve sadhyo Devahuti striya prajaha sarvastascharu sarvangyo lohito palagandayah. Immediately afterward, on the same day, Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, all charming in every limb and fragrant with the scent of red lotus flowers. Purport. Devahuti was too sexually excited, and therefore she discharged more ova, and the 9 daughters were born. It is said in the Smriti Shastra, as well as in the Ayurveda, that when the discharge of the male is greater, male children are born or begotten, But when the discharge of the female is greater, children are begotten. It appears from the circumstances that Devahuti was more sexually excited, and therefore she had 9 daughters at once. All the daughters, however, were very beautiful, and their bodies were nicely formed. Each resembled a lotus flower and was fragrant like a lotus. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So, the enjoyment of Devahuti and Kardama Muni is continuing here. It began with Kardama Muni by his mystic power, creating an aerial mansion which could, on his wish, go anywhere, and also by rejuvenating his wife Devahuti, who was at that time very emaciated, was in an emaciated situation, being in the ashram of Kardama Muni, serving him as a Muni. So he rejuvenated her, gave her a beautiful body with 1,000 maids, and in this way they both together started going to various heavenly places where there are beautiful gardens in the heavenly kingdoms, and got sexually stimulated. Especially she got sexually stimulated, Prabhupada says here, and in order to satisfy her sexual desire, Kardama Muni expanded himself into 9 forms. So, Prabhupada explains that this is because Devahuti was so excited sexually that because of all the circumstances through which Kardama Muni set up for her, and her long desire for conjugal relationship with Kardama Muni, result of that, the only way Kardama Muni could satisfy her amplified sex desire was by expanding into 9 forms. And Prabhupada explains here a fact, that a generalized fact, he says, it is understood that the sexual appetite of a woman is 9 times greater than that of a man. So, how is that? It's a fact. According to the Smriti Shastra, according to scriptures, it doesn't necessarily mean. What actually it means is, when there is indulgence, then it is, when there is a complete indulgence between man and woman, the woman's lust is 9 times more than a man's lust. Appetite, Prabhupada says, appetite, sexual appetite is 9 times. And of course, that is the reason why, at the same time, in our Vedic culture, in Indian Vedic culture, women are always protected from situations which sexually excite them. They are protected. Because if they cross the threshold, then it becomes very difficult for a woman's body to tolerate the force of sex. It is very powerful. So this is the reason why it is not triggered. The culture, Vedic culture is such that the desire in the woman, in the society, the situations are, the culture is such that no situation is created except with the husband to trigger this power of enjoyment. But if it is triggered, then it is a fact. So therefore we have to understand, one should not misunderstand this to mean that every woman lusts around 9 times a man. In that way, if you see, man is always lusting around. Women are controlled. But if they release their lust, then it is 9 times. And women also know that. That is why they are very careful. They are extremely careful. They cannot, once it is released, then cannot be controlled. So just like Devahuti, she could not control her desire for sexual relationship with Kardama Muni. She could not control. And of course it was meant for that. Kardama Muni, of course, was following the order of the Lord's wish. And it was all process of creation. He is playing a role in the creation of this material world. So therefore, all these things are happening at a very high level at the beginning of creation to bring forth progeny and all. And in the process of how the creation happens, Bhagavatam describes how this material world, the forces are working in this material world. Kardama Muni is a great Muni. In spite of being a great Muni, he was completely indulging in household life. Similarly, Devahuti was a great princess, daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, high parentage. So they were royally enjoying just like any ordinary householder. Not ordinary householder. Ordinary householder cannot enjoy like this. The highest heavenly householder can enjoy in this material world. That way, Devahuti and Kardama Muni were enjoying and created progeny. Now it says 9 daughters were born. I think this is before Kapila is born. 9 daughters are born. And it is said here that while the couple who eagerly longed for sexual pleasure were thus enjoying themselves by virtue of mystic powers, 100 autumns passed by like a brief span of time. First it says, in that aerial mansion, Devahuti in the company of her husband, handsome husband, situated on an excellent bed that increased sexual desires, could not realize how much time was passing. Then it says, while the couple who eagerly longed, that means they were on the bed for 100 autumns passed like a brief span of time, from moment. So, that many years. And then everything is mystical here. He impregnated Devahuti with 9 discharges of semen. And immediately afterward, the same day, Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, all charming in every limb and fragrant and scent of the lotus flower. So these things are all described. This is the way the material world is designed by the Supreme Lord. The material body is not an ordinary creation of the Lord. One should understand that. When we say yantra ruddhani maya, when we say yantra, don't reduce it to ordinary mission. Oh, it's an ordinary mission. It is not an ordinary mission. This mission can serve Krishna or it can serve Maya. depends on how the mind is running this mission. Prabhupada explains in many places, and also Bhagavatam also explains, that actually, in reality, the sexual pleasure is tucham. The maituna pleasure is tucham, is insignificant. So how do you reconcile? One side it is said it is tucham. The other side here it is described as something which is so high. How do you reconcile that? The reality is that it is tucham. But the illusion is that it can be very high. The illusion. An illusion is created by the mind. Around this itching sensation, as Prabhupada says, tucham, he says it's just itching sensation. Why? For whom sex is just a itching sensation? Whose mind is completely put off, whose mind is not indulged in this. When the mind is not indulged in this, then it is tucham. If the mind is indulged in it, finished. It is not tucham. It is a insurmountable maya. Insurmountable power it has got. It is like a deep well. You cannot come out of it if your mind gets involved in it. So controlling sex desire is all connected to controlling the mind. When they say this body is yantra, one should not think that this body, it is the body alone that is being described as yantra. Yantra means this body, mind, system, false ego, intelligence, mind, body, system. This together is called this duplicated robotic being. It is the yantra. So when the mind indulges in it, there is no way. Why? Because when the mind indulges in it, the brain is all equipped to produce the right kind of chemicals to excite one so much that one will not know how years, days, hours pass by like a moment. Like here, Kardama Muni and Devahuti. 100 autumns have passed. That means 100 seasons have passed and they are not feeling the time. That is what happens when these chemicals are active. These are all realities. These are all realities. Realities of this yantra. So Kardama Muni engaged in service of creation. He indulged in it. He immersed in it, indulged in it along with Devahuti as per dharma, because Swayambhu Manu given her hand to Kardama Muni. So to engage in sexual relationship in the most perfect way, materially possible perfect way by both of them to create progeny was a plan of the Lord. So Srimad Bhagavatam gives all this knowledge. Even material knowledge is given to us just by hearing these things. A person who wants to be a brahmachari, a person who wants to be a paramahamsa, who wants to be a sannyasi, a person who wants to self-realization. By hearing these things, he will respect the Lord's creation and not play with the Lord's creation. Not play with the Lord's creation. Like the Shastras say, man is like fire, woman is like butter. They melt when they come together. These are all the laws of this yantra. The mind finds ways and means to become close and then finished. So anybody who is interested in self-realization he does not think that by my jnana I can keep away from the influence of opposite sex in spite of my intimate association. As I described earlier, it is the mind. It is the mind of the male and the mind of the female. That is the intensifying factor. It is not the body. Body objectively is only nothing. It is the chemicals, it is the brain, it is the intoxication that happens within the brain. So therefore Prabhupada says, better than taking all the trouble by letting loose the mind is to tolerate the itching sensation of the body, to tolerate the itching sensation. That is brahmacharya. Prabhupada says, to tolerate the itching sensation. If one cannot tolerate the itching sensation, then he has to pay the price of falling into this ocean of Maya. Of course, Kardama, Devahuti, both of them as per dharma they were indulging. So they could come out of the Maya in the end. They both recognize, oh, for the service of the Lord we did this. This is not, we have to, you'll see later on. Both come out of it. She hears from Kapila Muni, her son, and she gets enlightened. She regrets that, oh, so much I indulged. And then Kardama Muni was living. At that time she realized, oh, I did not ask from you what actually you can give, self-realization. And I have simply, enjoyed. Now you are living me. That is when he pacifies her and says, no, I will give you a son who will help you self-realize. So because they were following the order of the higher authorities and indulging in this household work, household life, they came out of it. Both of them came out of it. So these are some of the principles that you will see in this Devahuti Kardama Muni Leela. How Devahuti was emaciated, Kardama Muni was a rishi, was completely absorbed in self-realization. Both had to change their mental paradigm. For that, the situation was created like that. Environment was created. Situation was created. So, this is another factor that one has to understand. The mind and situations are big contributors to sexual agitation. So, the mind should never be put in certain situations. Certain situations, when the mind maps certain situations, just like the Shastra says, one should not sit alone with one's own mother or daughter or sister in a lonely place. Situations. And situations create all situations agitate the mind. So situations are amplifiers. So in one sense you can say, the situations are also sense objects. You have to be careful of situations. You should not simply be careful of associating with opposite sex. You should be careful of certain situations and you should avoid certain situations, because if I get into that situation, then I am finished. Just like no intelligent man would think that I will walk over a well and not fall into the well. If there is a well, on the ground level there is a well, and he is walking, and he knows there is a well. No, I will walk over it. Anybody who thinks he will walk over it, law of gravity will act and he will be pulled in. In the same way, we should understand that we should not take our body into certain situations in life. When you see a well, you should move out of the well. Not that you think you can go over the well. But in this case example, well is a very clear example. You know that you will fall. Here by hearing these things, one should understand certain situations, being alone or opulent situation or agitating the senses. Just like you say here, so many perfumes and this and that and so many, all described here. So many visual excitement, all the senses are excited. And in such a company, you are in the opposite sex, then it is a well. Already it's a well. In other words, one should intelligently, with knowledge. It's not that if you have knowledge, you can face any situation and not be agitated. This is not knowledge. That is trying to play with God's laws. Jnana about sex means, the laws of nature of God is very powerful. Here I walk into this situation, then I will be pulled in. My mind will be pulled in. The law of gravity will act. I will fall into that well. So this is a person with jnana. That means a person who is intelligent will not play with, I will walk over the well. What is that person called? Foolish person is called. He is thinking he won't fall. So we have to be extremely careful. Of course, one whose mind is completely absorbed in Krishna, a pure devotee of the Lord, the mind doesn't go away. When the mind doesn't go away, then mind doesn't associate, then such a person can never fall down. Even in any situation, one cannot fall down. Because as we started saying that mind is a major factor that causes this sexual relationship. It may be triggered off by the senses, but it is a mind. So even the senses are a circumstance, senses are a situation. So many practical instructions we can get from this Devahuti and Kardamuni Lila. For those who want to follow Brahmacharya, reality is understood. One does not underestimate the laws of nature, laws of Maya. And one is cautious. Why one is cautious? He respects the laws of nature. Not that he is afraid of laws of nature. A yogi is not, a real bhakti yogi is not afraid of Maya like that. But his potential fear is there, but it's not that he is out of normal fear, he is being away from something. Because something you fear, ultimately it attracts you towards that. You have to be very careful. So, Maya is kept away by the knowledge, by the statement that I should respect Krishna's material laws. I am a devotee of the Lord. I cannot take a poison bottle, drink and say that poison should not affect my body. I don't do that. In the same way, when I don't do that, this also I should not do. I should not allow my mind to associate in that particular manner which agitates. So if a mind is engaged in the service of the Lord, if the mind engaged in giving pleasure to the Lord, Guru and Krishna, that is the safest way to keep away from Maya. Keep away from Maya. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you have said that our brain is filled with so much of chemicals to be released. So according to law of karma, it will come out in some point of time or other if we don't release it.
No, brain is not filled with chemicals. Our brain is filled with the mechanism to produce chemicals. Our brain is filled with mechanisms that will produce these chemicals. It's not filled with chemicals. Now you don't activate those mechanisms, then those chemicals will not be produced. You see the difference? Now there are forces, karmic forces, that will activate these mechanisms. Just like now, you are sitting now. Now nobody is sexually agitated. The very same brain can get sexually agitated in a circumstance. What does happen that time? The activation is, the brain is activated, those centers are activated according to laws of nature, and those chemicals are produced, and we get bewildered. So that is point number one. It is not that, so much 50 ml of chemical is already there, sex chemical, I have to consume 50 ml of sex chemical. It's not like that. In fact, the Shastra says that it is the same energy that is in the blood, that the center that creates sexual chemicals uses the same energy from the blood, which is the energy that is used by another mechanism in the mind, which creates spiritual consciousness. In other words, electricity is same. You put a bulb, you get light, you get a fan, you get fan. Isn't it? Connected to fan, you get something else. Or it creates refrigeration, it creates heat, same electricity. In the same way, man, same prana, and then there is this energy in the blood, the creative energy in the blood. That creative energy can take expression in the form of creating progeny, which is the entire thing about sex. Or it can create, for other creative things it can go. And one of the highest creative thing you need is to understand Shastra. So that is the reason why it is said that if some brahmacharya is extremely important to come out of bodily concept. If brahmacharya is not there, then very difficult to come out of the bodily concept. Even Brahman realization is very difficult. So unrestricted wastage of spiritual, sexual energy, if you use those for sexual energy, then that energy to read Prabhupada's books, to understand, to realize Prabhupada's books, to get realizations is very difficult. It is highly connected. There is no question of any path, Mayavada path or Vaishnava path, without brahmacharya carrying on with spiritual realization. Not possible without brahmacharya. And brahmacharya means not that one has overcome sexual attraction. That is a false understanding of brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means you know the laws of nature, and accordingly you do management so that your energy is not, your creative energy is not wasted. It is redirected towards something. You don't go in that direction. That is what. It is the Mayavadis who constantly try, when I can be free from attraction to Maya. Mayavadi's goal is that. Our goal is not at all that. Vaishnava's goal is never that. Vaishnava's goal is how I can be attracted to Krishna. The moment he thinks that how I can be free from Maya's attraction through jnana, this is not our path at all. It's not a Vaishnava path at all. If that path is pushing somebody, then one should understand it is some past Mayavada influence on me. It may past life Jnanic influence upon me. Give that up. Only always think that how my goal is how to get attracted to Krishna. Automatically these things will go away. And such a person can never get over Maya, because Maya is any time. So many stories are there, so many leelas are there in Bhagavatam. Everything indicates that you can't play with Maya. Because it is Krishna's Maya. Daivi esha gunamaya mama Maya duratteya. This is his Maya. By your knowledge you cannot get over it. You will be defeated. You will be defeated by illusion. Where there is Krishna, there is no darkness. This is the formula for getting out of Maya. Not dealing with darkness. Bringing light of Krishna consciousness is a way to get over Maya. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Fear is because of being afraid of a fall down, and now because of fear we get attracted also. So how do we be careful and not be too much be afraid and get attracted?
So just now I explained to you. The Vaishnava, his fear is not fear itself. First, there is respect for Lord's nature, Lord's laws. So you have respect for Lord's law means you know that it will work. God has created this mechanism. I cannot play with this mechanism. That is respect for that. You will stay away from it. So first there is respect. So if I disrespect the Lord's instructions in this matter, then there is something for me to fear. So therefore, you don't fear Maya, you fear disrespecting Lord's instruction in this matter. If you fear the sense object, it is dangerous, because you will contemplate on the sense object. You fear breaking the instruction of the Lord, then you are contemplating on the instruction of the Lord, and that is what is required, and you will be saved. Any other question? Jai Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.